My name is Jordan Ellis. I'm 29, I live in Austin, Texas, and I was raised by people who always smiled with their teeth but never with their hearts. I used to think that was normal, that every family was just pretending to love each other until someone finally cracked. My dad, Roger, ran a small construction business, the kind that mostly floated off old friends and handshake deals. My mom, Lynette, ran the house like a prison camp with fake flowers and ceramic plates no one could touch. I had two older brothers, Troy and Landon, football types. Loud, always had to win, always had to remind me that I was the weak one, the skinny one, the thinker, which in our house meant useless. I tried not to take it personal. I kept my head down, got good grades, taught myself coding at night using an old Dell I pulled out of the garbage. They didn't care. As long as I wasn't in the way, I could exist. When I was 16, I started helping a few kids fix their school laptops for cash. My dad found out and made me give him half the money, said it was rent. I figured that's how things worked. I didn't know any different. When I turned 18, I got a scholarship to UT Austin. I cried when I got the letter. My mom didn't. She said, "Don't get too big for your britches." I never asked them for money. I took side gigs writing code for student startups. I barely slept. I ate peanut butter on saltines for dinner. Meanwhile, back home, Troy and Landon got their college paid for, got trucks handed down, got business loans from my dad that never got paid back. But I stayed quiet. I didn't want to be ungrateful. That was the word they used every time I asked questions. Ungrateful. After college, I came back home for a while to regroup. That was the mistake. My dad said I could live in the guest house behind our main house, but only if I helped with his business during the day. I agreed. I thought maybe we'd finally bond. Maybe he'd see I wasn't useless. But a few months in, he asked me to sign some papers, said they were just for liability, standard forms. I trusted him. I signed. What I didn't realize was that I had just signed over power of attorney and added his name to my bank account. He drained it, said it was a loan. Said it would help cover family costs. Then my mom said the guest house needed to be put in her name for tax reasons. Then my brothers said we should split the trust fund evenly that my grandmother left, even though she left it for me alone in writing. By the end of that year, everything I owned was under someone else's name, and when I finally pushed back, they threw me out. My mom literally changed the locks. My dad sent me a voicemail saying I needed to grow up. I had nothing. Not even the laptop I started on. They kept it, said it was part of family property. What they didn't know was that 6 months before all that happened, I had started a company. Not in my name, not registered under my email. I used a shell identity I'd created in college for a class project, just a placeholder, but the idea took off. It was a back-end automation tool for small retailers, nothing sexy, but efficient, cheap. I kept working on it in secret, using library computers, borrowed logins, old servers. I didn't tell anyone, not friends, not my girlfriend at the time, no one. I built the thing like a ghost, quiet, invisible. After I got kicked out, I slept in my car, showered at the gym, ate dollar burgers, but the company started to grow. I got 1 contract, then 3. Then an investment from a guy in Seattle who didn't care what my name was as long as the code worked. Within a year, I had a team. Remote, paid, professional. We used my ghost identity for all filings. No one tied it to me. I wasn't trying to hide. I just didn't want anyone to steal it. Again. I moved into a small apartment on the east side. I lived cheap, worked long, never posted online, never went home. 2 years later, that company was worth over $10 million. I had a holding company in Delaware, a business attorney in New York, and 2 developers in Romania. But to my family, I was still the loser who couldn't hold a job. I got Christmas cards with no return address. No calls, no apology, just silence until they needed help. That's when it started to turn. My mom called first, said the house was under threat because of back taxes. My dad's business had taken a hit. Troy's marriage was on the rocks. Landon had crashed his truck and totaled it. She said, maybe you could pitch in. After all, you stayed in the guest house rent-free for years. I didn't answer, I just listened. I didn't say no, I didn't say yes, I just waited, because something in me had changed. I wasn't that kid anymore. I wasn't the quiet one. I wasn't scared. I had power now, real power, and they had no idea. I wanted to believe they'd change. I really did. Part of me still wanted to be that kid who got invited back to Thanksgiving, who got a real hug from his mom without strings attached, who could hear his dad say, "I'm proud of you," without some condition at the end. So when my mom called asking for help with the house, I didn't say no. I drove out there one evening just to look at it. The old family home. Brick, beige trim, double garage, fake flowers in the mulch. Looked exactly the same. My name was still nowhere on the deed, of course. I stood on the street for 20 minutes before I rang the doorbell. Troy answered, looked me up and down like I was a stray, said, "Well, damn, look who crawled back." I said I wasn't crawling anywhere, I just wanted to talk. He stepped aside like he was doing me a favor. My mom was in the kitchen. She looked surprised but not happy, more like suspicious, like I was about to ask for something. I told them I heard about the tax lien on the house. I told them I might be in a position to help. She narrowed her eyes and said, "What kind of position? You working at one of them call centers?" I said, "No, I run a tech company now." She laughed. She actually laughed. Said, "You always were good with your little computers." My dad came in last, looked at me like I was a window he didn't recognize. I told them I could help settle the debt if they were willing to transfer the house to a shared family trust. Equal names, fair, legal. My mom's smile vanished. She said, "You trying to take our house from us now, after everything we gave you?" I just stared at her. Everything they gave me. They took everything I had. My dad said I could either help or not, but I wasn't gonna start bossing people around just because I read a few blogs. I told them I didn't read blogs, that I ran a real business now, that I wasn't the broke kid they dumped 5 years ago. Landon came in then, drunk probably, and said, "If you were rich, you wouldn't be dressed like a damn busboy." That stung a little, but I just said thanks for the warm welcome and walked out. That was the first attempt, the last friendly one. I stayed quiet again, focused on work, tried to move on, but then I got a letter from a lawyer, said I was being accused of fraud. My mom had filed a claim that I had stolen family software when I left and that anything I had built in the guest house technically belonged to the estate. I couldn't believe it. She actually tried to sue me. I knew the claim was garbage, but it still cost me to defend. My company's legal team asked if there was any truth to it. I told them no. I showed the timestamps, the server logs, the shell registration. It was airtight, but the principle of it, that they'd stoop that low. That was the last switch for me. I went dark, cut all personal contact, but I didn't forget. I watched. I knew they were drowning in debt. I knew my dad had started gambling online. I knew Troy had tried to start a business that failed and was now driving a delivery van. Landon had been arrested for fighting outside a bar. I saw it all. I read the county foreclosure notice when it was posted. I saw the auction date. I watched the house go up on a public site, and then I bought it. Through a holding company. No names, no flags, just numbers. I bought it for pennies on the dollar, paid in full, sent a quiet team to change the locks the next day. My family got the eviction notice 3 days later. I didn't go. I didn't want to see their faces, but I heard about it. My mom called me screaming, said they were going to be homeless, said how could I do this to my own blood. I let her scream. Then I said, "I offered to help. You tried to sue me, remember?" She called me a snake. Said I'd never be part of this family again. I said, "You made sure of that a long time ago." And I hung up. A week later, I sold the house to a nonprofit that turns foreclosures into shelters for veterans. I took zero profit. I didn't want the money. I just wanted it gone. Then I went after the second piece, the land. The land my grandmother left me in her will, the one they convinced me to transfer when I was 19. I found a copy of her original notarized letter. I worked with a lawyer to file a formal dispute. It took months, but the court finally ruled that the transfer had been done under duress and without legal representation. I got the land back, all 8 acres, beautiful, quiet, untouched. I donated it to a conservation trust. I made sure my family saw the article about it. I made sure they knew it was gone for good. They lost their house, their land, and the story they'd told themselves about being the strong ones. I wasn't loud. I wasn't cruel. But I was done playing the weak one, the quiet one, the one they thought would always be smaller than them. I was done with that forever. I didn't plan the last part to be revenge, not at first. I just wanted closure. But the universe handed me an opportunity, and I took it. It started with a phone call from a local college. They were organizing a panel on young entrepreneurs from Texas. One of the professors had heard about my company through an investor circle and wanted to feature me anonymously as Founder X, a case study on bootstrapping in hostile environments. They said it would be private, just a few students. I agreed, why not? The day of the panel, I showed up in jeans and a black hoodie. I still don't wear suits. I spoke for 20 minutes about resilience, about building in silence, about betrayal. I never said names, never mentioned my family. But I saw the students lean forward when I said, "Sometimes the people who raise you are the first ones to bury you." They asked questions, they clapped. It felt strange, to be seen, to be respected without anyone knowing who I used to be. Afterward, one of the students came up and asked if I'd ever go public. I said maybe, if it served a purpose. That was the spark. 2 months later, I was asked to keynote a larger conference in Austin. Tech Founders, Angel Investors Press. This one was big. I said yes. I gave my real name, no mask, no shell. I walked on stage to a packed crowd and told my story, all of it, from the guest house. The stolen trust, the fake papers, the lawsuits, the company I built from scratch with no help, no family, no safety net. I showed slides. I showed before and after. At the end, I put up a photo of the old house, then a photo of the new sign out front. It read the Ellis Veterans Shelter, founded by Jordan Ellis in honor of those who made it on their own. The room stood up. It wasn't just applause, it was respect. Real, earned, and the best part, my family was watching. I know this because Troy texted me 2 minutes after the speech ended, just 2 words. "You win." I didn't reply, but I wasn't done. There was one more piece left. The final asset they thought they had kept from me, the family name, Ellis Construction. My dad's old company. After the foreclosure and back taxes, he'd sold it off cheap to an old contact to keep it alive. That guy ran it into the ground, abandoned the website, let the business license lapse, so I waited until the day it expired. Then I bought the name, I bought the domain, I filed the brand, and I rebuilt the site. New logo, new mission, new photos. And on the homepage I wrote, Ellis was once a name that stood for small minds, closed doors, and wasted potential. Now it stands for reinvention. Underneath, I posted a link to my original speech. It went viral, not huge, but enough. Enough for old clients to notice. Enough for local news to run a segment. Enough for the Ellis name to mean something new, not them, me. A few weeks later, my mom sent me a letter. Handwritten. Said she was sorry. Said she never thought I'd amount to anything and didn't know how to handle being wrong. Said she missed me. That she hoped we could talk. I put the letter in a drawer. Didn't throw it out, didn't answer either. Because some wounds don't need revenge. They just need silence. And some victories don't need cheering. They just need to last. Now I live in a quiet house with no fake flowers and no voices telling me I'm not enough. I don't flaunt what I built. I don't need to. I walk into meetings where my name is respected. I invest in other people like me. The ones nobody believes in. The quiet ones, the strays, the ones with fire behind their ribs. And when I see someone drowning in a family that pretends love means ownership, I tell them, let them take everything. Then go build something they can never touch. And that's when I learned some betrayals don't break you. They build you, but only if you let the silence teach you how to fight, quietly, completely, and forever.